Hello, everybody. This is just a bit of an off-the-cuff live stream. I don't know if anybody's going to be around to come and listen. If not, well, 3 people just come in. 3 people listening. Like I said, it's a bit of an off-the-cuff live stream. I was going to do a video about this, but I thought now I'll do a live stream. It's easier than do all the editing and stuff. One person's watching now. See if any more people come in. If not, I shall. Hello, Jack. How you doing? How you doing? Hello. Hello, everybody. Right. So I was going to do it. Like I said, I was going to do a video about this, but I thought, do a live stream. So it looks like Boris Johnson is being manoeuvred back into position. Hey, Cockmeister, how you doing, mate? So I don't know if everybody's seen this, but it looks like Boris Johnson is being manoeuvred back into position. There's a lot of positive press about him at the minute. I think he's being manoeuvred back into position to take over leadership of the Conservative Party. I think this is their great master plan, the Tories, is to bring back the man who basically destroyed the country. Boris Johnson is the person that flicked that first domino that accelerated the decline of this country, in my opinion. You'll probably have noticed it. I've seen it on Twitter. You're starting to see a lot of posts like this. Boris Johnson calls out Labour over making Lucy Connolly serve her full sentence while releasing serious sex offenders who have only served half their sentences. Let's not forget, right, Boris Johnson is the type of person, he's like Nigel Farage. He's a bandwagon jumper. And so they've seen that Kemi Badenoch isn't exactly, gelling with the British public. She doesn't resonate well with them. Basically, she's absolutely fucking useless. And I think the Conservatives have clocked onto this, especially after their humiliating performance in the local elections. They think, yeah, she's got to go. But instead of actually just trying to fix the problem, they're wheeling out Boris Johnson again. And I'm going to point you to this video by Tim Davis. Go and watch this video by Tim Davis, because he does a much better job of describing things than I could. I watched this video and I agree with everything he said in that video wholeheartedly. So go and watch it. I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of it. Go and watch that video for yourselves by Tim Davis. He basically says that, in a roundabout way, that Boris Johnson is an absolute charlatan, a liar, and we shouldn't be falling for this again. And we shouldn't be. Not at all. Not again. An 80-seat majority. Boris Johnson had an 80-seat majority, did absolutely nothing with it, didn't turn around the small boats, didn't do anything about illegal immigration. He basically put all these illegals into the hotels in the first place. And as far as I'm concerned, he's just another Liberal Democrat in Conservative clothing. Why in the hell they want him back, I don't know. And they'll probably get him. They'll probably get him as well, because we'll have all the Bring Back Boris crowd coming out again. Reform should be worried, actually, because a lot of the Bring Back Boris crowd went over to the Reform Party and gave them the support because Boris Johnson left politics. But if he comes back, then the Bring Back Boris crowd that shifted to the Reform Party will most likely shift back because they're fucking morons. And yeah, so look at some of the chat. Boris myself was a false Brexiteer. And yeah, basically that's what Tim Davis says in the video. He says, he didn't pick to be a pro-leave. He just picked the side that he fancied the most. He wasn't a Brexiteer at all, not at all. You could tell that by his actions. Boris Johnson had the opportunity to take back our fishing grounds and, rebuild our fishing fleet, and he didn't do it. He caved into the EU. We're just facing more of the same with Boris Johnson. How are you doing? Were you surprised Bennock doesn't gel well with the public, but they move back to effing Boris? Yeah, exactly. It's like the Tories are finished. They're absolutely done for. They're finished. They just don't know. They just don't know what to do. They're so out of touch with the public. They've got no clue how to dig themselves out of this hole. You know, they do have somebody that they have generic, but they don't want to be a right wing party because they're basically Liberal Democrats. I think we all know that by now. They're not conservatives at all. They're conservatives in name only. They're not really conservatives, the Tory party. That's why the Reform Party has shifted to the middle ground, because they're not conservatives either. They're more like Tory 2.0. And while I'm on the subject of this, right, while I'm on the subject of reform, I haven't bashed them enough recently. Nigel Farage is supporting removing the two-child cap on families, which is extraordinary. So he's basically just like giving the green flag for all those illegal immigrants in our country to just breed the native Brits out of their own country, because that's what's going to happen. It's not going to favour the native Brits, the getting rid of the two-child cap on benefits. We all know why he's doing that. He's trying to appease the Muslim vote by doing that, by saying, "Oh yeah, I'll remove it." That should be a massive red flag to anybody that's voted reform with him doing that. He does. I know, Steve. Jenrick is just saying all the right things. And this is what I mean. You can't really trust any of them. You really can't. You can't trust any of the Tories whatsoever. You can't trust any of them. I don't trust Boris. I don't trust Jenrick, because they're all just basically telling us what we want to hear, aren't they? The only person I really truly trust in Parliament is Rupert Lowe. That's it. That's the only one. Out of 650 MPs that are supposed to represent this country, we've only got one we can really trust that actually does what he says he's going to do. And that's atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. They're the people that run the country, that govern us, that are put in Parliament to oversee this country. And we've got one MP that speaks for the people of this country, that is resonating with us. And that's it. The rest of them are just absolute shower of shit. They're all liberals. They're all liberals. They all prioritise other people over the people of this country. All of them. They are. They're absolutely awful. And now people want to bring back Boris Johnson. Oh God. You know, I haven't made my mind up yet who's actually worse, Nigel Farage or Boris Johnson, because Boris Johnson has actually been Prime Minister and totally effed up the country. Why would anybody want to bring back a man who locked down, put everybody under house arrest for the common flu? Why? Especially now we know all the information we know about the vax. And I watched I've got it in my box to watch. Joe Rogan has actually come out, and he's done a podcast about the vax and that kind of thing. I've not seen it yet, but apparently it's very controversial. It kind of blows the lid off of everything that we were told. You're right, definitely right. They are all scumbags. We can't trust a single one of them, apart from Rupert Lowe. That's it. Hey Diane, how you doing? They're all in the same club. Charlatans, a lot of them. Exactly. Totally agree. It's their sheer level of desperation in bringing back Boris. Even his sister hates him. Yeah. Go and watch this video by Tim Davis. It's very enlightening. It really is. And I agree with him with everything he says in that video. It was basically, he basically articulated everything that I was thinking. Because when I was on X today, and I've noticed an increase in posts about being very positive towards Boris over the last couple of days. And then Tim came out with this video, and it was like he'd noticed it as well. And it was like, yeah, they're pushing to bring Boris back. That's what they're trying to do. Farage scrapping two-child benefit cap is a terrible idea that will destroy this country. Yeah, this is obviously just Farage flip-flopping again. He's trying to court the Muslim vote. That's what he's trying to do. Remember in that interview when he said, if we ignore the Muslim vote, we will lose. This is what he was talking about. This is why we can't trust the Reform Party. It's just going to be the Tory Party 2.0, full of liberal wets that are just weak, that will go into Parliament. They won't do anything because they won't be able to stand up to the civil service, and then we'll just be back to square one. They just don't have a clue. I mean, you would think the protest at the weekend would have been a massive wake-up call, thinking, yeah, we don't particularly want to go down similar lines, but they don't care. They're not bothered. They don't care about the people. The Tories are toxic. We want nothing to do with that lot. Exactly. Nigel should be encouraging white British people to start families. Exactly. If he was going to remove the two-child cap, but only for Indigenous white British people, to encourage them to have families and increase the demographics of the English in this country, then yeah, fair enough. That would be a good idea, but he's not. Well, if Boris does come back, you know Andrea Jenkins will be excited. I'm sure her knickers will get wet every time she talks about Boris. And how many of these MPs will defect back to a Tory party run by Boris Johnson? They'll all defect back, won't they? If I get any backlash for calling the Tories that lot, then so be it. You won't. I think everybody's on the same page, Jack. I think everybody knows what they're like. They're an absolute joke, aren't they? Like I said, I've seen a lot of people doing posts like this, saying Boris Johnson calls out Labour over making Lucy Conley serve her full sentence while releasing serious sex offenders. He's just telling people what they want to know, what they want to hear. That's what Boris does best. That's what he did during the whole build up to the Leave vote. That's what Boris was doing. He was just telling people what they want to hear. And he did that during the 2019 general election. It was just saying things that would get people to vote for him. That's it. That's what politicians do. Our political class have got no intentions of making things better for us. It's always about making things better for them. If they make things better for us, it makes things worse for them. Because a lot of these MPs, these political class, sit on the boards of companies, and they get a lot of revenue, share, a share of the shares and that kind of thing. And you've got to think, it wouldn't benefit them to abolish 0-hour contracts, would it? It wouldn't benefit them to do that. It would make things better for the working class if they were guaranteed a set amount of hours a week without working 0 hours. I mean, that's what I'm like with a security guard, 0-hour contracts. You're not guaranteed any hours at all. You can turn up to work one day and then suddenly find out, yeah, you can work today, but you've got no hours for the rest of the week. It benefits them because obviously if they can, just say to people, we don't want you today, they don't have to pay out any redundancy or anything like that. They can just say, oh yeah, we're on a 0-hour contract, we don't have to pay anything this week. Benefits them. They're making money all the time. They're making money off of us. Like I said today in my video, we never escaped the feudal system. We just replaced it with something else, didn't we? They just gave us the illusion of democracy, and we know our MPs are supposed to serve us, but they don't. But we actually serve them. We work every hour God sends to put food on the table for our kids and our families and stuff like that, and they take their share. How was that any different from the feudal system that we had? Where the peasants would work the land and the lord would take a percentage of the food that they'd grown. Sometimes, over more than 75% of what the peasants had grown, and they would just leave them with nothing, and most of them would actually probably be starving. How is that any different to the system we've got now? It's not much different, is it, really, when you think about it? They're still taking a massive cut of what we earn. We may not be in the fields anymore, getting in the wheat and stuff, but they're still doing it to the farmers. The farmers aren't earning massive amounts of money for all the hard work they do. You've only got to watch Clarkson's farm for that to see how much they actually earn. They don't earn hardly anything. Their money comes from subsidies. I mean, I've just watched recently, I'm going off on a tangent here, but I've just started watching the 4th season of Clarkson's farm, and they're basically paying farmers not to grow food, to grow wildflowers and grass and shit like that. You've got to ask yourself a question: why? Why are they doing that? And of course, farmers are going to do it. You can't blame them for doing it because they've got to make a living. They don't know how else to do it. It's the government doing it. I think they were planting grass and wildflowers. Well, that's no good to anybody, is it? We need farmers to grow food, to raise cattle, don't we? So that we have a food supply in this country. So if anything does happen, say a world war does happen, we're not reliant solely on exports. We have provisions here as well. If this was World War II and all of a sudden we were cut off, we'd be royally fucked right now, wouldn't we? We'd be absolutely screwed because we just don't grow food anymore. We'd starve. Our people would starve. At least during World War II, yeah, there were shortages. We had to ration. But we couldn't even ration now because we just don't have the capacity to grow the food because we've got solar panels all over everything. We'd be screwed, absolutely screwed. And then they're begging for this war with Russia. And it's like, we're in no shape to fight a war with Russia. We don't have the armed forces. We don't have energy independence. We don't have food independence. We'd be screwed, absolutely screwed. And it just makes my blood boil, all this stuff. It's just shocking. Let's have a look at some of the comments. Yep, seeing a lot of fallow with buttercups. Exactly. You can't eat those, can you? A Rothschild lion, what absolute shock. The Tories are horrible. If they come back, we must depart from Britain before they put us in concentration camps like happened in World War II. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Starmer might do that. We're just going to go back into the cycle again, aren't we? Decline the country. No, this is a report via Luton Today newsfeed. Right, okay. You're actually Lennon in cahoots with Rothschild money lender. Gee, I wonder which policies Tommy would be following. I'm not sure about that, obviously. They want the land to put in more solar panels in, then block out the sun. You couldn't make it up. They're doing the work of the puppet masters. Exactly. They're insane. These people are absolutely lunatics. Boris Johnson and Rupert Jenrick are next Jimmy Carter and Walter Manuel. Not good, no. These people are not who they claim to be, are they? Let's have a look up here at some of the comments. But yeah, what do you guys think? Look at this, yeah. Peasants had more time off work than we do. Exactly. I know people that are they're doing 60 hours plus a week. They're doing 3 jobs because the minimum wage just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Food prices keep going up, but the wages don't reflect inflation. So people are struggling, and it's just going to get worse when winter comes. I mean, Starmer's bragging about, oh, energy prices are coming down. Yeah, it's because we're in summer. People aren't switching off their central heating. They're switching it off now. So yeah, bills are going to come down during the summer. It's like, are people this fucking dumb that they don't realise what they do? They just spin everything. It's like, you wait till winter comes. If we have a harsh winter and the bill prices, they go back up again, along with food prices, people are going to starve. People are going to freeze. They're just a joke. Hey, old bag, how you doing? Bojo the Clown Johnson is as welcome as a fart in a spacesuit. Yeah, exactly. I don't understand how people think that he's going to be some kind of saviour. Obviously, there are quite a few Tories that went to reform that think that Boris is the saviour, because a lot of them were very disappointed that he got pushed out. It was just Boris had just become too controversial. He was quite obviously useless, so they swapped him out for Sunak, and he was just as bad. He was. We've not had a leader in this country that's any good, have we? We think Theresa May, Boris Johnson, Rishi Sunak. Sorry, no, we had what's her name? I can't remember her name. She was only in there for a short time, wasn't she? Fucking hell. What's her name? What's her name? She was in charge when the Queen died. Can't for life remember her name. She wasn't in there that long because they ousted her for what Sunak, didn't they? Liz Truss. That's it. Thank you. That's the one. Liz Truss. Yeah. Now people have said that Liz Truss might have been better than Sunak. Obviously, Sunak was going to be in there, wasn't he? The globalist puppet. And we've got a prime minister at the minute, right, that says he prefers how Davos does things to Westminster. It shows you where his loyalties lie, doesn't it? I think we all know where his loyalties lie, and it's not with this country. I said in a comment the other day, it was on Twitter, somebody said, do you think that Keir Starmer is a traitor? And it's like, yes, he's working for the Chinese People's Party, which is the CCP. Definitely, 100%. Not a lot of people know that he was behind the Iron Curtain in a work camp in his younger days. Keir Starmer is a Trotsky communist, the most extreme form of communist. It's way above being a Marxist. You thought Marxists were bad. Trotsky communists are way up there. I think didn't Stalin kick Trotsky out because he was too extreme? Boris is heavily invested in BlackRock. That's why he's pushed to the Ukraine war. Exactly. Well, I don't think many people forget that, Zelensky was actually considering a peace deal with Russia, that I think Turkey had brokered a deal. They'd gotten together around the peace talks table. And Boris went there and he just went across without warning. And the next day, the peace talks were off. So we all know what happened, don't we? Yes. He was in a Czechoslovak camp, exactly. We'll try and get some of the comments. Read to me. The tourist tried to do to me what Labour did to Danny at the airport. Right, okay. Zelensky is Boris Johnson's puppet, yeah. Sorry, bro, but England is lost at this point. A lot of people are saying that. It's hard not to deny, isn't it, when you've got no free speech? You've got no free speech, you've got no democracy. You've got America sending a group of 5 free speech specialists in to decide if we have free speech anymore. You know, in our generation, would you have thought that would happen? That we would have America? This is something America would do to a banana republic, something like that. They would send in specialists to find out, yeah, if you're being authoritarian or not. And it's like, yes, we've got a woman lingering in jail for a tweet. We've got Wayne O'Rourke, because everybody forgets about Wayne O'Rourke, don't they? He was put in prison for a tweet that he shouldn't have been put in prison for. Yeah, Boris has got blood in his hands. He went straight in there. He torpedoed the peace talks, and now he's got blood in his hands. Every single person that has died since Boris Johnson went in there and torpedoed those peace talks, that blood is on his hands, because they would have worked something out. Zelensky was getting tired of the war. Russia were making progress, and he was thought, I just want this to end now. And he would have ended it. But, obviously, the coalition at NATO, globalists, shall we say, because that's what NATO is, it's just globalists, isn't it? The military industrial complex wanted the forever war to go on. They want a forever war with Russia, because that's how they'll make their money. That's why they moved from Iraq to Afghanistan. It had nothing to do with a war on terror. It was all about having a forever war to keep the military industrial complex going. All those big companies that are making weapons and tanks and planes, to keep them flowing, keep the money flowing, because that's basically what the US economy is. It's pharmaceuticals, it's big pharma, and it's the military industrial complex. That's it. That's what its economy is. That's what the deep state is, isn't it? Vote UKIP. I'm going to get onto that, right? So vote UKIP. And I'm going to say this because the only leader of a party to get involved in the Great British Strike was Nick Tenconi. He went down to the London protest. He gave you support. He made an appearance, showing support to these people. Only political leader to do that. No Rupert Lowe. No Rupert Lowe. I like the guy, but I've got to say, no Rupert Lowe supporting the Great British Strike. None of the reform parties. I had a comment on my channel from the Lincoln protest, the ones that were doing the protest in Lincoln, and they actually reached out to the local reform branch and asked them if they would show support. They didn't even get a response. I might have to do a video on that comment, actually, because I think people would find that interesting. Yeah, the tanks, the aircraft don't become obsolete like they used to. Exactly. Yeah, he's a good man, but I think Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe have to realise who their support is and where it's coming from. I have more respect for political leaders that will stand with me toe to toe on the front line against the far left than just somebody that talks about it in Parliament. Because this is where Nigel Farage is going wrong. He thinks that, he wants to be part of the old system, and he doesn't care about grassroots street movements. Well, if he was in Parliament, he's got to think, I've only got 5 MPs in Parliament. He condemns street protests. He says, I'm not a populist leader, right? This is why he's not a very smart man, because if he was in Parliament, if he was supporting these people on the ground, supporting these protests, he could turn around to Keir Starmer and have ammunition to fire back and say, you may have all these MPs in Parliament, but you don't have the mandate of the people. They're coming out on the streets and saying, get Starmer out, get Starmer out. And that would give him political power. It would give him political leverage in Parliament, because he could say, I have the people behind me. But he's blown all that out of the water. The minute he threw Tommy Robinson under the bus, the minute he called us that lot, and he did call us that lot, because by not condemning what Richard Tice said or making Richard Tice apologise, he's agreeing with what Richard Tice said, as far as I'm concerned. And Nigel Farage is a class snob. He is. So is Richard Tice. They're old school Tories. And this is why I want Rupert Lowe and Ben Habib to take note, because they need to throw their weight behind this great British strike. Because in Parliament, they should ring up and say, yeah, you may have got all these MPs into Parliament on one of the lowest turnouts for a general election in history. On what was it, 11 million votes? Labour was voted into Parliament, 11 million votes. So only 6 million more than what Reform got, yet they got a huge majority because of first past the post and how it works. They don't have a mandate to do anything, the Labour Party. It wasn't a landslide, it was the fact that the Tory vote collapsed. That's how they got into Parliament. And this is why they missed a trick, the Reform Party. They could have got behind Tommy Robinson's Unite the Kingdom. They could have got behind the Great British Strike and said, look, the people are with us and we're with the people. They're not with you. And that immediately takes any type of power away from Keir Starmer. It's something to throw back at him, but they missed the trick, because no matter who they are, these politicians will always have this divide between regular people on the street and what they are, because they've never been through what we've been through. They never have. They just don't understand us. It's been like this forever. There's always been this divide between the political class and the people of this country. This is why our system of governance needs to change. This is why people thought reform was going to be different, because we thought that people like us were going to get into Parliament. And for once, we would have a vote there, because people who have actually lived our lives would be in Parliament representing us. Not the middle class, but actually working class voices in Parliament representing us. We do have that in some respects in local government, but there's no power in local government. There's no power there. Power is centralised in Westminster. That's where power is centralised. Nick Tinconi said he reached out to Ben Habib, but he didn't want to join forces. This is the problem we have. Exactly. Everybody wants to be the person who saves the country, don't they? It's egos. They say there's not egos, but everybody wants that. Everybody wants to be the person who saves the country. I don't think Rupert Lowe's like that. I don't think Nick Tinconi's like that. You know, all that aside, right? All this political egoism between UKIP, the Tories, Lib Dems, all those sort of people, right? All I want is my country back. That's what I want. I don't care who does it or whatever. Let's just get it done. And if we've got to unite to do it, let's unite to do it. The most important thing is that we have a united front to push back against the people who have done this to this country. That's what we need to do. But we're not getting that at the minute, because we've got too many egos, too many people just thinking, I want to be the person who saves the country. Again, they're putting themselves before the country. Now, I'm not saying that Ben Habib is going to do that. He may learn his lesson, but he needs to learn his lesson about this. Because if he doesn't learn it, he's just going to look like more of the same, like Nigel Farage, unfortunately. I don't want it to be that way. But as a working class person, looking at these people, I don't see anybody who truly represents me apart from Rupert Lowe. Then we need 4 brand new patriotic parties Drain the swamp. Yeah, we do. We need. People keep saying that we don't need these little parties, and I agree. But we need choice. We need choice because at the minute, the only reason people voted for reform is because, like people have said, they were the least worst option out there. They were the closest thing to what people actually wanted during the general election. And then after the general election, what happened? They completely changed tact. They tacked off to the centre ground. We're not a right wing party. We're centrist. Lee Anderson on GB News corrected a presenter, said we're not right wing. We're centrist. That's no good to anybody. We need the change that they say they're going to do. They can't do because the only way they're going to get the change, and Tim Davis touched on this, right? The only way they're going to get the change that they want is if they have a hard right-leaning party go into there and just go in there like a wrecking ball and destroy anything and just destroy it. Absolutely destroy the system. It needs tearing down. It just doesn't work anymore. And we just don't have a party that's willing to do that yet. The UKIP probably is, but nobody's getting behind UKIP. So more comments. Sarah Poacher and 30p are both Labour. Tory flip-flops. Nigel and Tice are bankers. Exactly. The party's made up of defectors. Lee Anderson is the consummate carpetbagger, started left wing Labour, and now he's right, tight, and back to the centre. Exactly. No, no, Jack. Bad idea. I think we've been through this before, right? And to be honest with you, mate, I wouldn't even put that on social media because it's liable to get you into trouble. You will have a knock at the door if you say things like that on social media. If you say things like that, because you're actually telling people to go to a specific place and riot. Yeah, I'm going to do you a favour. I'm going to take that off because that could get you in trouble, mate. Don't post things like that on social media. They will come for you for stuff like that. I'm afraid to say 99% of the country have commie ideals. Multiculturalism, light support of gay marriage, happy with central bank. Yeah. He always wants a riot. Exactly. I just don't want the guy to get in trouble because saying that sort of thing in this country right now is not a good idea. You've only got to look at what people got, you know. Do you want Tories to go or not? I'm trying to offer solutions. It's not a solution, though, Jack. If you say that on social media and people go there and do that, you'll be in trouble. You might even be in trouble for just saying that. Yeah. Right. Yeah, but when the lucky bill comes in October, yeah. I just don't want him to get in trouble. I want Labour gone. Yeah. A lot of people do. It's Labour we want gone. Yep. They will be gone at the next election. I wondered if they ban the Chiefs song. I predict a riot. Yeah, probably. I have a crazy Tinder bitch stalking me. What should I do? I don't know. Keir Starmer, the bumhold hammer. He'll be gone by August. Yeah, his days are numbered, and we're going to get Angela Rayner. Oh God, it's good in a way that we get Angela Rayner because she will tank the country faster than Keir Starmer. She will just destroy the country. Yep, I agree, Danny. Totally agree with you. Reform aren't the answer. Ben Habib's dragging his feet with this new party. Yeah, we've got 4 years, but again, they're doing the same thing the other parties are doing. They're ignoring the people on the ground, the grassroots, the people that are out on the streets protesting. They're ignoring them because they don't. I kind of get the feeling that Ben Habib doesn't want to associate because he was very, very diplomatic around Tommy Robinson when he was talking about him, when he was asked if Tommy Robinson could join his new party. And instead of embracing him like Nick Tenconi has, he just said, well, if he's a registered voter, then yes, of course he can join the party. He didn't come out and say what's happened to Tom is absolutely disgusting and it shouldn't be. And of course he's welcome to join the party. He's done nothing wrong. It was like tiptoeing around on eggshells, and that kind of put me off him a little bit because it's like, I don't want people like that. We've had people like that before that do this. That I just want somebody that's not afraid just to come out and say, yeah, Tommy's done nothing wrong. Tommy's done nothing wrong. He's only ever told the truth and he's been persecuted for it. What's so wrong in saying that? And Nick Tenconi has said that. He's come out and openly supported Tommy Robinson. I want a leader with balls, not somebody that's just going to play the mainstream media game or play smart, I'm going to choose my words carefully so I don't offend anybody. I don't want any of that bullshit. You cannot win playing their game because they make up the rules as they go along. Exactly. And this is where Nigel Farage has gone wrong, old dog. This is where he's gone wrong. He's tried to play their game. He's tried to appease the mainstream media. And what's happened? That they've just completely rejected him anyway. You can never appease them. We all thought, when people were saying, oh, he's Britain's version of Donald Trump. No, he's not. If you want Britain's version of Donald Trump, you have to look at Rupert Lowe. Definitely. Probably Rupert Lowe and Nick Tenconi. They just say it how it is. They don't take any shit. They're not afraid of the press. They just say it how it is. And if the press get offended by that or they get bad press, then they just don't care. Look at what Rupert Lowe was saying on Twitter about was it Emily Mantis? Is that her name, Emily Mantis? Interview that he did. He said he didn't give a shit that she called him racist because it's meaningless. The word's meaningless now. That's just something you get called when they've got no arguments against you now. They just call you racist. They've made the word meaningless. They've made the term far right meaningless because all far right means is you disagree with the extreme far left. That's what it means. When I've counter-protested, stand up to racism, they've called me the master race. I'm the master race. I'm a Nazi. I'm a Nazi. They don't know what fascism is. They don't know what fascists are. They've got no clue. They just use buzzwords to try and smear people, to shut them down. They've got no clue what they're talking about. The thing I like about Nick Tenconi is the fact that he's got an answer for everything. He knows his shit. So when he's asked a question, he can just fire back straight like that. And he's got an answer like, yeah, this is how I'd do it. He was asked off the cuff how he would deport all the illegal immigrants in the country. And he just gave a straight answer. He said, like, we've got airplanes taking off every 5 minutes in this country. He says, how could we not deport them? We just stick them on jumbos, deport them. Gone. Simple as that. They call me, yeah. Yeah, apparently I'm the master race, even though I haven't got blonde hair. I've got blue eyes, but I've not got blonde hair. I highly doubt You know, I don't want to get too much into it, but if you go and have a look, I'll post some links to videos on other social media sites. I'm on BitChute, I'm on Rumble, and I had a few run-ins with the actual far right, and they really don't like me. That's where my other channel went before this one. The far right got that one cancelled because I was really criticising them on things, and because they claim to be patriots, but they're not patriots. Yeah, they are patriots, but they're German patriots, not British patriots, and that's what they didn't like. Nick Tinconi makes the most sense at present, as far as I can see. Yeah, he does. That's what we want in a leader. I want somebody that just says it how it is, doesn't put a spin on things, just goes to the press and tells them how it is. Which is exactly what Donald Trump does. That's what he does. He calls them out on it. He's not afraid to call them out. He calls them fake, false news. And that's all Nigel Farage had to do. Not be afraid of them and just say, you're fake news. Yeah, your opinion counts for nothing. And we needed somebody like that, because when you've got somebody like that, it diminishes the propaganda machine's power, because you've got somebody else in power calling them out. But it's just not doing that. And, you know, I've heard rumours that Donald Trump has dropped Nigel Farage because he just sees straight through him. He knows what he is. He's not the man to lead this country. I don't know too much about the BNP. I'm not really clued up about them. Freedom Robinson, BNP is a toxic brand. Yeah, exactly. Nope. See, this is where you need a panel to discuss, brother. German and English patriots, white Christian cousins, don't want to fight, never did. That fake Nazi play up to the narrative. See, this is where I don't agree with you, right? I'm not going to get into it because I don't debate. Just as I don't debate the far left, I don't debate the far right, because they're both as bad as each other. You know, it's horseshoe theory proved. Before you know it, you've got people on here denying that the Holocaust happened and all that kind of shit. And it's like, I'm not getting into it. Just not getting into that sort of thing. If you want to believe that, that's by you, but I'm not into that shit. Nigel is like not right. Yeah, he's not. He's never been on the right, Nigel Farage. He's not. The only reason he wanted Brexit, and this is what other people have said, is that he wanted looser restrictions on business regulations. That was it. He didn't give a shit about sovereignty or taking back control of our borders. He just wanted to be able to have eased up restrictions on his businesses, so he made more money. Didn't give a shit about this country. I went to a UKIP rally. Nick Tinconi told me Habib and Lowe are only there to gain power. He might just have a point, to be honest. I hope it's not true. I don't believe that about Rupert Lowe. I don't think he's in it for the power at all. If he was, he'd have just towed the Reform Party line and just stayed in Parliament and not said anything. And I think Ben Habib's the same. But again, they're not from us. They're not from the working class. So they're from that other group, again, that don't understand us. They really don't. We voted out and they are punished us. Yep, totally agree. It's not the media yet, Vin, but Nigel is very naughty boy. Watch this space. That's why Trump dumped him. Yeah, I'm probably guessing that. The thing is, what I don't understand, right? People, people that have voted Reform, the people that thought they were a right-wing party, they're still with them, and yet they've seen that Nigel Farage has come out and said that he's going to remove the two-child cap on benefits, and they don't have an issue with that. They don't see that as a red flag. You know, let's go way back to the pandemic when Farage wanted Tony Blair to be in charge of the rollout of the vax. You know, that wasn't a red flag for them, really. That he wanted that evil scumbag in charge of something. That wasn't that was my first red flag. It was actually my second red flag, because the first one is when he stood down all the Brexit Party MPs to let Boris Johnson get in. What is far right, though? That is the question. The far right do exist. They're a tiny minority. They don't really exist. They wouldn't fill a car park. The far right are just bogeymen. You know, we have stand up to racism, hope not hate, screaming far right at everybody, and they're just a tiny minority. Farage is only here to suck up votes and stop real change. Farage will only tinker. He will not save the country from forced mass immigration. He won't do anything. Farage will not do anything. People who vote Reform are desperate. The UK deserves a far better. Rupert is my man for 2029. Yeah, but like I said, you know, these up and coming parties that are going to launch, they have to realise they have to get behind the people. They really do. They have to get behind the people. And is PA far right? Well, let's put it this way. Tommy Robinson always kicks those people out of his rallies. That's all I'm going to say. If Rupert Lowe is watching tonight, I hope he takes notice of this. Yeah, they need to get behind the people. I wish, though, I know all the people here, the UKIPers and stuff like that, it needs to rebrand. It really does. Keep the UKIP name, because I don't think you could, but it needs to rebrand itself. It needs to get rid of that stupid pound flag sign and just come up with something more patriotic, really, because that was all Nigel Farage is doing. That it needs to go. They need to rebrand, at least rebrand their image. I don't think there's nothing much they can do about their name. I mean, UK Independence Party still is quite relevant. It doesn't, because we are still basically tied to the EU, so that is still relevant in my opinion. But they need to get rid of all the purple and shit that Nigel Farage put in there, rebrand themselves, and come out fighting. With Nick Tenconi as leader, they can do that. They've got 4 years to rebrand themselves into something that the people can get behind. They need to wash away everything that Nigel Farage touched in that party. Yeah, but it wouldn't be a dead brand if they rebranded themselves and people actually, instead of like going after the Reform Party, which is just a nothing burger, it's an absolute nothing burger, it's a protest vote party. If people got behind UKIP, then it wouldn't just have 3,000 members. That's where the power lies with the people. If you want real change, then you have to vote for it and you have to support that real change. You have to wake up to the fact that the Reform Party isn't going to offer anything that it's saying. And I want to make this separation now as well, because I've done this in some of my videos now. I want to separate the parliamentary party from the branches and local councils that are Reform, because those branches and local councils are right wing. They heavily disagree with the parliamentary party. There's been a lot of friction. That's why we've seen lots of branches shut down. That's why we've seen lots of branches resign. because they just don't agree with the way the party's going. And I've said this in videos before, I suspect that if Rupert and Ben Habib get together, start this new party, they will defect to that new party. That's what I predict anyway. I don't even know if I want to live any longer because of this. Don't say that, Jack. Trump has endorsed Rupert as well as Elon. Yeah. To be honest with you, Lee, I think that's what, like I said, this is what sparked the demise. It wasn't the argument that Rupert Lowe had in that TV interview where he questioned Nigel Farage's leadership. It was when Elon Musk said that Nigel Farage wasn't the man to save the country or to run the Reform Party. He said that Rupert Lowe would be a better leader than Nigel Farage. The minute Elon Musk said that, Rupert Lowe's days were numbered in that party. You just know that Nigel Farage was just looking for any excuse to get rid of Rupert Lowe. I hate the name Integrity. Yeah, apparently it's just a placeholder name. He's not actually launched the party yet. He's just saying that's a placeholder name until they get something else. We'll see what happens. Like I said, for the minute, I'm supporting Nick Tenconi and UKIP because until something else comes along, 4 years is a long time in politics. A week is a long time in politics. We don't know. We simply don't know what's going to happen, do we? We just don't know what's going to happen. So for me to throw my hat into the ring and say, yeah, I'm definitely going to back these people, it's too early yet. Anything can happen. We just don't know what's going to happen, do we? A lot of people have suspected that they're pushing for this war in Russia, so general elections get cancelled. And so we don't have a general election in 2029. I wouldn't put it past them. Definitely wouldn't put it past them. Don't you think Nick is too volatile? No, I don't. I think we need somebody that's volatile in Parliament, somebody that is going to stick it to them. We need that. Elon said Nigel is not the man the UK needs. After that, he endorsed Rupert. Yeah, he did. A new True Patriot movement with Rupert Lowe would destabilise Farage. Yeah, right. So this is my issue with Ben Habib, right? Because this is where ego's coming again. He doesn't want to form alliances. I saw an interview where he said you can't be the member of the party if you join the Integrity Party, which is fair enough. But Rupert and Ben Habib need to realise they need to form alliances. There needs to be an alliance. Otherwise, they're going to go nowhere. Hey, Carl, how you doing, mate? How you doing? Haven, don't you hate the fact that GB News and Talk TV are propaganda mouthpiece for reform? Yeah, exactly. During the local elections, it was like Talk TV and GB News were just the Reform Party show, weren't they? Parties like UKIP just don't get a look in on these news channels. No, he didn't endorse Rupert. Elon said that he hadn't met Rupert, but he liked what he saw. That's not an endorsement. Well, he said that directly after he said that Nigel Farage wasn't the man for the job. How President Trump, I'd back Rupert Lowe. Yeah. Yes, I would vote for Nick, but he does lose it like, yeah. Maybe that's what we need in Parliament. Maybe that's what we need. We need somebody that isn't going to like just take this shit anymore. Just like, you know. But yeah, and we're coming up to the hour mark, so I'll look at a few more comments. I like doing these live streams. I like talking to you guys and interacting with my subscribers and stuff. I can't wait until everything is set up. I'm looking to get in not because I'm doing this on a laptop at the minute. I'm looking at getting a second-hand computer with a tower so I can do proper live streaming and stuff. But obviously, all my kit is in storage at the minute, so I haven't got a proper mic. That's why the audio sounds shit. But yeah, I can't wait to set it up so I can actually get people to come in and have a panel and have people chatting and get the different opinions. I've tried it, but it just slows the live stream down at the minute. But that's really what I want to do. I want to like get you guys in and get your opinions on things and let you have a voice and hear your opinions on things. Because that's why I limit my live streams to an hour, because really an hour is as far as I can go just talking. I get sick and tired of hearing my own voice. But yeah, so I'll get a few more of the comments. I think that's what everybody wants, Jack. Everybody wants action, not words. We love your streams too, Vin. We will get there, guys. Rid of the uni party and all of the immigrants forever. It'll happen. It will happen. Whether it happens in our lifetime, I don't know. You know, who knows what's going to happen? Thanks, mate. Like having your real name will hide you here. That's about you. Yeah. I've done some live streams with Dino Bane on. Go and check him out. He's popped in from time to time. We've had a good old chat and stuff. So I'm not saying this is set in stone yet, but what I'm aiming for is, because after my announcement the other day that I was gonna, try and do this full time, I'm looking at actually going to the Nick Tenconi migrant protest in Nottingham at the end of June. That's what I'm aiming for. I'm trying to get ready, get all my equipment and stuff. I've got stuff coming. Hopefully, I've got the body cam coming, stuff that I'm gonna make do with the GoPro that I've got. I might live stream before I go to the event and then just put my phone away so it doesn't get nicked again. But yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to go and actually go to one of these rallies and maybe even meet Nick Tenconi and just, have a chat with him and get a feel for the guy and that sort of thing. But yeah. Right. This is the thing, right? Luckily, our next door neighbours, they were awesome, our next door neighbours at the old place we used to be at. They were from Latvia and we got on with them like a house on fire. They gave us basically a brand new washing machine. So we've got a washing machine. We're just waiting to get a cooker now. The school has been useless. The school came round and promised us the earth and said, "Oh, we can get this for you, we can get that for you." And then as soon as my daughter went back to school, we heard absolutely nothing from them. Nothing from them at all. They've been useless. Absolutely useless. They've given us no help with getting her to school. She has to travel 6 miles to school now. There's no free buses or anything like that. She has to go on public transport, and then she has to walk a mile from town to school. And they asked us if we wanted to take her out of that school, but all of her friends are there, so it's like we don't really want to do that. she's settled and that sort of thing. And it's, yeah, they give us no help. So no, we haven't got anything like that at all, unfortunately. We'll get there though. We'll get there. We're getting things sorted. Yeah, we've been looking at that. To be honest with you, mate, that's what we've been saying. We're just going to get second-hand stuff and then just replace it as we get the money to do it. The main thing at the minute is the flooring. But we're working on that at the minute to get the flooring down. Once we get the flooring down in here, we can bring everything out of storage and get it in the house, and then we'll be a lot better off because it'll be more comfortable for the kids, us, and everything. It's just, like I said, it's just a work in progress. And I'm not complaining about the house at all. The house is amazing. It really is. The garden's massive, the house and everything. I was just more frustrated with the situation, knowing that we've got people in this country that have just been here 2 weeks and they're getting fully kitted out of houses, while people such as myself and others were just left. Yeah, you've got a house now. That kind of thing. That's what just made me mad, really. But I don't want to keep going on about it because I think it's getting on people's nerves. They think I'm being ungrateful. I'm not. I really appreciate the fact that we got a council house. I really am. I'm more mad at the fact that I've paid into the system my whole life and basically got nothing back. We got nothing. We got zero help. We got one. They offered us a food bank voucher, and that was it. That's all we got from the local council. Yet I know for certain that our local council, which is Labour run, by the way, is giving the immigrants in the illegal immigrants in the hotel, which is just a mile down the road from where I used to live. They're getting 3 square meals a day, courtesy of me, the taxpayer, and you, the taxpayer. They're getting houses, council houses, fully kitted out, carpeted, new cookers, new fridge freezers, straight away. And we're being put in here with absolutely nothing. That's what my issue was with it. That's why I got angry, because it's like if we didn't the goodwill of people such as people who donated money that was from my subscribers, if the woman at the guest house hadn't given us any chairs, a bed, my kids would have been sleeping on the floor. That's what made me angry more than anything. I will sort this house out. I will get it straight, from whatever I'll do. I'm working on that at the minute. I really am. It's frustrating, that, to say the least. It's just frustrating. I don't want everything given to me. I will quite happily pay for everything myself. That's what I want to do. It's just that, and I'm sure you people think the same if you're in this situation. You think, why the fucking hell should I, when I know that these people have only been in the country for 2 weeks? I made a video about it, about that couple that got a house straight away after just being 2 weeks in the country. We had to wait on an emergency housing list for 6 months before we got anything, and we had to go into emergency accommodation. We weren't given a house after 2 weeks, but now we know why, because they've all been given away to people that have only been in the country for 2 weeks. That's why there's such a high demand. We were told we weren't a priority, even though I've got a daughter who's 11, a son who's got autism. Again, it's not a sob story. I'm just angry and frustrated that we were put in that position. That's what I was angry about. But I don't want to keep going on about it because I get sick of hearing about it myself. Because it just winds me up. It just really gets me angry. It's like, fuck me. It really does. Exactly. It's like, I look at it like this, when I was getting universal credit, I looked at it like this. I'm just getting my tax money back that I paid in over 35 years. It's not like I'm some snotty-nosed student that's just come out of university, never worked a day in his life, and then suddenly he's on universal credit, sponging off people that have paid into the system and thinks that's a career. That's not me at all. The system's The system was supposed to be there for me. Everything that these immigrants are getting is what, and it's not just me. I don't want to make it out it's just all about me. It's not. There are literally thousands, if not millions, of native Brits out there that are going through the same thing that I am and aren't being helped because all of our resources are being given to people that have only been in the fucking country a few months. That's what my argument was. That's why I was so angry. We've got veterans on the streets. Were they given 4-star hotels? No, they weren't. They were just left on the street to die and freeze to death. Look at that. What was it? An airman who carried Princess Diana's coffin, just left to die on the street in a sleeping bag. They gave him a sleeping bag. The local council gave him a fucking sleeping bag, and that was it. And he froze to death on the streets after serving his country. Makes my blood boil. And yet you've got people, you've got that guy that was plotting terrorist attacks, given a free taxpayer-funded rented house. We've got a guy down in London that was given a free house, courtesy of the taxpayer, paying his rent, paying everything. He was running, what was it, a £12 million illegal business, smuggling illegal immigrants into the country. That's what pissed me off. I'm 70, paid my taxes, took my winter payment and nicked 7 years pension. I'm an angry, well, yeah, exactly. You've got every right to be. Can your ID, rob a dinghy and paint your balls, rock up Dover and beach and you get everything exactly. Makes my piss boil. Yeah, I think everybody's in the same boat. To be honest, I think one of the last things the people should do is withhold tax. Yes, that goes for businesses too. After all, why would you fund proxy wars and immigrants? Thing is, the whole system's on their side, isn't it? Everything's on their side, unfortunately. There's old bag gone, night old bag. Sorry I didn't see your post. I was too busy having a rant about everything again. But yeah, I'm really grateful for the house. I am. I love the house, and it's going to look great once it's sorted, and it is going to get sorted. It will. It's going to be brilliant. And once we're settled and stuff, I can concentrate on different things and that. I'm trying to work under the radar to try and get jobs and stuff because it's been made hard by the far, and it's been a blessing that I've got all these subscribers, but it's also put me on the radar of certain individuals that have tried to make it hard for me to get a job, and they have. But I'm trying to circumvent that by doing different things. I can't say too much on here for obvious reasons, but I am getting around that in my own way. I've hopefully got a job working part-time doing the doors locally. So that'll be great because I am climbing the walls because I'm not working. I'm the sort of person that that's it. I need to get stuff done, and it's driving me fucking crazy. I'm an active person, and to go from being completely active to being inactive, it's just looking for things to do all the time. I was out in the garden, and obviously I did everything I could in the garden until money ran out, and then it's like, right, I've got to wait now. We've got to get skips and stuff like that to get rid of the garden waste. I've got the council involved in that. In my video the other day, because I was moving a pile of rubble out in the garden and I found asbestos, so they're going to have to come and take care of that. So everything slowed down in the garden. That was my project. That was keeping my mind busy on things, just getting that done and building shit and stuff. But yeah, I'll get there. We'll get there. It will look great once it's done. It's just a work in progress at the minute. Buy and sell online thing. I do it when I'm bored to make some bare money. Yeah. I've actually applied to monetize the channel, and it would only make a little amount, but it's still there. It's still there on the ad revenue. I know people probably, that pissed people off watching ads and stuff, but every little helps, doesn't it? Every little helps. But yeah, things are looking good. Things are looking good. I mean, it's not as bad as when we first got the eviction notice. That was a shock. It was like, shit, we've got 9 days to get out. That was, the stress was immense, as you can imagine. Oh, you know what? I would love to make a video on this at some point, but we're going to take legal action against the letting agents that looked after the property. I can't mention their name for legal reasons, but they're a well-known letting agency. They were doing so many underhanded things to try and get us out of that property, so they didn't have to do a eviction notice. I've got to be careful what I say here, but I will say allegedly for now, but we know for sure they did this. Allegedly, they contacted our gas and electricity provider and told them that the tenants were vacating the property, that the tenants had vacated the property. We had our gas and electric shut off, and we had to organise to get that reactivated whilst we were in that old house. We had a boiler break, and we were left, during the cold snap at the beginning of the year, we were left without any hot water or central heating for 6 weeks. We had to get the local council involved, the enforcement team involved, to force the land agents to fix the boiler. There were lots of things going off in the background that I didn't mention at the time that was putting a lot of stress on us. We were in the dark about everything. They never told us what they were doing or anything like that. We were just getting. There was one time we had people looking around the house because they were selling the place, we were complying with them. They lied to us in the beginning. They said that they were only looking for people who wanted to be landlords, so we wouldn't have to move out of the property. We'd be safe. We've got a letter with them saying that. And then we found out from people who were actually coming around to view the property that they were private buyers. They just wanted a house. They wanted to move in. They weren't landlords or anything like that. So they lied to us about that. This one particular viewing, it was several Asian men that came in, and they were just wandering around the house, and they were taking pictures in my daughter's bedroom, and I kicked them out. And I told the letting agent who came round and says, that's not happening again. That happens again, then we're stopping the viewings, which we can legally do that. We can say, nah, we're not doing viewings anymore. Not if you're going to allow that to happen. But yeah, there were lots and lots going on behind the scenes that I didn't tell people about. And that just added to the stress of everything, really, because they were doing everything in their power to force us out of the property at that time. And, people say, why don't you take legal action? And it's like, well, what with? To take these people to court, this was a bank. This was a bank we would be fighting. We still to this day don't know which bank owned the property. All we had was 2 names as receivers. They were the people who were in charge of the property, these receivers of the bank, who were at the bank. And it's like, if we really go to court against a bank, we're going to lose, because they're just going to have unlimited funds to take us. It's like, we can't fight these people, and who's going to enforce it? So it was like, I had to think about my family, and it was like, I'm not going to put my family through that. It's like, let's just get out the house. And so we contacted the local homeless team, and if anybody goes through it, right, regardless of what I think about Labour or anything like that, about Labour and council, stuff like that, the homeless team was absolutely effing amazing with us. They were. And so was, we actually took legal advice from the local council's law centre as well. They advised us on what to do with the situation, because we didn't understand anything that was in these legal documents. So that's what we had to do. But I advise anybody, if you get this a Section 21 no fault eviction notice, immediately inform the homeless team. Because if you don't, you find yourself in a world of it. And it's happening to lots of people. There are lots of private landlords out there now that are just selling up, either because they're selling out to Serco, who were buying up properties to let out to illegal immigrants, or they're just selling up because of the legislation that the Labour government is bringing in next year, where they're getting rid of no-fault Section 21 notices, so they won't be able to evict troublesome tenants. They'll be screwed. That's why a lot of people are selling up. That's why the private renting market is dropping. We literally couldn't find anybody to private rent within our local area. It was insane. We just literally had nowhere to go. So we'll should go and apply for a job at Reform UK simply to confront the Tories where they give them a kick in. Yeah. Disclaimer, no violence, just making a point at history. Yeah. Didn't see that one. Free Tommy Starmer once he fulfills his obligations. Labour won't leave though. Said already, your vote commies in and you'll spill blood to get them out. Yeah, exactly. Had a bit of a good chat tonight. Right, guys, I think I've run out of topics to talk about. Obviously, I'll just repeat what I said at the beginning of the stream for people that didn't hear what I was saying. So, hang on, I'll just do this one by Steve. Also, the private landlord schemes have effed small landlords over around £900 per extra costs, and the whole lot had form filling exactly. It opened our eyes. I know, obviously, that when you go into social housing, it's a hell of a lot cheaper in rent than it is for private renting. But I'm guessing that's because of all the overheads and costs and shit landlords have to go through. They have to get insanely high insurance to cover their properties in case they get people in that destroy the place. And yeah, I do understand private landlords, but the landlord that we had went bust. And he was an arsehole. Our landlord was an arsehole, an absolute arsehole. Nobody liked him. He refused to do repairs on the houses. He did the bare minimum he could get away with regarding to maintain the properties and stuff. A lot of what was in the house, I had to repair myself because he refused to do it, even though it is his obligation. Right, guys. Thanks for watching. I'm going to call it a night here. We've gone over time for about 23 minutes, but yeah. I hope you enjoyed it and weren't bored or anything. Thanks for watching my videos and stuff. I really appreciate it. Thanks for liking, sharing, subscribing on my videos, and just being great subscribers and stuff like. We may disagree sometimes on certain things, but we've all got different opinions on things. We've all got different ideas. But at the end of the day, hopefully, we can always agree to disagree on certain things, and just it's not about making enemies. I don't want to make enemies or anything like that. I've just got strong views on things, and I know a lot of you have as well. And yeah, we may clash sometimes, but hopefully we can, put those opinions aside and still be friends at the end of the day. But yeah, I love all my audience and stuff like that. It's great interacting with people. I don't think some of the bigger YouTubers actually interact with their subscribers a lot, and I think it's wrong. Because at the end of the day, it's you guys that have built my channel up and got me 3,000 subscribers and stuff like that. And I've always been like this anyway, keeping my feet firmly rooted on the ground. I'm not the sort of person that's going to let fame go to there so my channel get big or anything like that. I'm not like that as a person, really not. You guys made this channel. And, you know, yeah, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. Really, really, really do. Yeah, it's great to have you. Like, it's like another person I can go to talk to and stuff. It's great. Does help me. Helps me PTSD as well, doing this sort of thing. Yeah, really great. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I shall see you in the next video. This is Vindicator signing off.